One of the first grammar rules you can find in a beginner's English textbook is when to use there is and there are. We say there is with singular nouns, one, and we use there are when we have two or more things. There is a dog outside, there are two dogs outside. Very simple, this is basic grammar. So how do we explain this?
There's little perks.
There's going to be obstacles and it's going to be difficult.
There's tons of other businesses.
Well, there's twice as many people as there were when I was a kid.
There's people who will say to me, you know, there's natural forms of healing.
Only when there's people that...
And I go, oh, look, there's people smoking crack right there.
There's some ways that are different.
What you just watched was a bunch of world-famous English native speakers with massive platforms all making the mistake of using there is or theirs for plural nouns. How can we explain this? Well, I call this a native mistake. Native mistakes are English language mistakes made very, very commonly by English native speakers. And so it gets to a point where it's so common, it becomes normal and it's not even considered a mistake anymore. Imagine 80% of the English native speaking population makes a very typical mistake, and they would prefer to use the mistake version over the standard version. At what point does the mistake become just normal language? Because we have to remember, language is an ever-evolving thing. It doesn't stay in one place. It's not static. It changes, it grows, it's dynamic. So we can have things that are mistakes and wrong that eventually become the norm. And I consider this one of those situations. But let's have a deeper look at exactly why natives love to use theirs and plural. So the first very important thing you have to know is this doesn't work with the long version, there is. You have to use the contracted, shortened version, theirs. So that means they'll never say there is people on the beach, but they'll say there's people on the beach. Natives don't like to say I am or she has or we would. They want to say I'm, she's and we'd. And I think that's a potential explanation for why they prefer to use theirs over there are. Because there are doesn't actually have a contracted version. There is no short form of there are. There, no. So they just opted for, hey, let's just say theirs because that's the contracted version and we love those quick contractions. The next important point is that this native mistake, theirs plus plural, only exists in spoken English. And interestingly enough, this is not a case of formality. It's not that theirs is extremely informal and thus we only use it in spoken English. Actually, studies show that theirs is not only used in casual conversations, but also used by news reporters on national television programs. It's used by professors when they're giving lectures. So it's used from the informal to the formal. But the same studies also found that it was very difficult to find theirs plus plural noun in written form. At that point, when people want to use a plural form, they will resort back to the proper form of there are people. So if you're writing an email, an article, or a blog, make sure to actually use the correct form, there are, because you will only find this native mistake, theirs, in spoken English, like right now. And there are some theories that suggest that these mistakes occur due to the demand of real-time language processing in our brain while we are speaking. See, when we're writing, it's a much slower process. It allows you to think and choose your words carefully before you write them down. Whereas when we speak, our mind's traveling much faster and it has to process things in real time and then make the motor functions to actually say it. That's much harder. So what happens is people just say theirs because it's the contracted, easy form. We speak about singular things more often than plural things. So people say theirs before they've even had a chance to kind of realize or process that they're actually speaking about something that's in plural form. So just to summarize the main points of a video, saying theirs and using a plural noun is technically a mistake, but it's a native mistake. So it's not that bad. Second thing is, you can only make this native mistake if you're using the contracted form of there is, which is theirs. If you're actually saying the full form, there is plus plural, it suddenly doesn't sound so normal and natural. Then it does sound like a mistake. The third thing is, it's only acceptable in spoken English, whereas when you're writing to people, it's best to edit it out and use the proper form of there are plus plural noun. And I just want to wrap up by saying thank you to Maciek, who gave me the suggestion for today's video topic. Let's have a discussion down in the comments. What do you think of these native mistakes? Had you ever heard people saying theirs plus plural noun before? Did you know it was a mistake? Do you like this mistake? Are you going to try and use the native mistake? Or are you going to stick to the standard form of there are? These are all very interesting questions, and I want to see what you people think down below. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.